Hello students, Professor Benavides here. Let's talk about chapter 17, the disk chapter. Note, anything's in green is a possible, or is, shall I say, a lab task. So in the introduction, how are files, folders, and disks related? So the analogy, goes like this. You create files, documents. Those files go in folders, and those folders go in disks. Now, a long time ago, we used to have floppy disks. Some of you have probably never seen one of those. And nowadays, CDs and DVDs are rapidly disappearing. You can buy a computer now and it doesn't even have a DVD. I remember the first time I saw one, I said, I wonder how in the world they're ever going to use that thing. We've already gotten used to it. So, but hard drives are still cheap, and SSDs are really nice. They're a lot faster. In fact, if you put an SSD in an older computer and just give it a little bit more RAM, you've given it the gift of life, or a little longer, So what is this chapter about? It's about storage and disks. It's about cleanups, defragmentation, compression, encryption, analysis, and management. Now, you will notice as time goes on, the theme is that a lot of this stuff is getting to be done automatically. Before, we used to have to do a lot of things manually. So let's go ahead and go over this. Now, as far as the file system of Windows is concerned, Windows 10, it's NTFS. And it's really, really, really important that you understand that some of the things that we're going to talk about here require that. And therefore, some of the tricks of NTFS, such as EFS encryption, you won't be able to do on memory cards, flash drives, etc. In other words, on older FAT32 systems. So storage sense is the first topic we start off on. And I believe they used to call it storage view. So if some of you hear me talk about storage view, that's the storage page, okay? So how can you free up wasted space on your hard drive? You can use storage sense, okay? It's not storage spaces, that's a different story, We'll talk about the difference between these two in a minute, but storage sense is once you turn it on, and believe it or not, it's not on by default. And I looked at this the other day, and it's true. You would have thought that it would be on, but it's not. Once you turn it on, it automatically deletes these kinds of files to make room. In other words, it'll get rid of temporary files and recycle bin files and forgotten downloads and old versions of Windows. So how do you open up Storage Sense? You can go to Start, Settings, System, Storage Sense, turn it on. And right below the on toggle switch, there's a Configure Storage Sense. And you really should go in there and look at the settings. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. And I went over here to Start, Settings, and then we went into System, and then Storage. And I'll make the screen a little bit bigger. And this storage used to be, I believe it used to be called Storage View, but here's the toggle to turn it off and on. And here's that silly little Configure Storage Sense. I think they would have made it a button, but you can click on this, and from here you can make some configuration settings, such as how long you want temporary files to be on your computer. In fact, you can have it set here and then just not even mess with it. I mean, just delete temporary files after 30 days. Why not? You can even do this program, or have it delete this stuff by clicking on Clear Now if you want. Okay, but it shows you the different categories on here. You can just drill down on any one of these, like the apps, other people, temporary files. Let's click on temporary files. From here, I just finished doing a cleanup, so I really don't have a lot on here. But if you just click on remove files, it's gone, or that stuff is gone. Okay, so the book goes over this in a lot more detail. I just wanted to just show you where it was in the new settings dialog. So what's eating up your hard drive? I made some screenshots from my computer, but basically it shows you everything that you could get rid of, and then you just click on the remove files, and they're gone from your computer. So again, it's start, settings, system, storage screen. So how can I drill down? I just showed you what we drilled down on the temporary files, and you can go ahead and take a look at that. You can drill down on apps as well from there if you wanted to. So as far as hard drive checkups are concerned, I remember a long time ago, I spent so much time with this program called ScanDisk. Of course, ScanDisk doesn't exist with Windows 10 anymore, so I've lost out on running that program. I remember countless nights running ScanDisk and defrag, and a lot of that stuff is being done automatically for us. So I kind of miss the old days. There are a few leftover things. You can do check disk graphically, or you can also do it at the command line. So check disk is, if you go to the command line, you can just type in chkdsk. I like the author's sense of humor, like where he says check disk, apparently named by someone with no vowels on his keyboard. This guy's got a really unusual sense of humor on here. But if you right mouse click on the hard drive that you want to check, from the shortcut menu you can choose property and then go to tools and then check disk. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. Remember, it's we're going to go to the shortcut menu, go to properties, tools, and then check the disk. So let me go ahead and get on the my hard drive. And here's my scene. Remember, right mouse click on here, go to properties. And we're going to be talking about disk cleanup in a little while. It said tools, right? And then from tools, you click on check. This is the graphical equivalent of check disk. Okay. After I said, well, I click on that. Got to put in, I'm on a standard account. So, and then you just click on scan drive. But check disk, I've had to do check disk on recovery when I've gone into recovery mode and to check hard drives, because sometimes hard drives are messed up, and check disk does have, there are a variety of switches and things that I think every technician should know to check the validity of their hard drive. Okay, right. So there's still some old-fashioned stuff on here. If you must do check disk. So geeks used to go ahead and do this at the command line. They used to love to do, and like I said, it's still used today. If you go on YouTube and you will look at videos on recovery, and a lot of times people have to get down to the command line and run check disk on a hard drive. So it's not dead. So what does the word volume mean? Well, the idea here is that you can have multiple partitions, and every separate icon and drive, we're going to go ahead and call that a volume. So here's anytime you see YouTube, there's videos on here, and the videos are there to go ahead and help you understand the topic. So partitioning, you can read about it. These little YouTube things, I think they're pretty helpful, and they walk you through the steps. Geeky type people just love to partition stuff. I mean, I don't do it too much. Well, actually, I'll show you what mine is. Partitioned. I've got an SSD and a larger hard drive, and they're both, partitioned. And yet I say I don't use it as much as other people do. But when you start disk management, and you're going to need to have, I believe you need to have administrative rights for this, as well as UAC. And disk management this program has not changed since forever. I mean, my God, did I even use it before Windows 7 and before? And the interface hasn't changed. So if you go to the start menu, right mouse click on it, and you can go ahead and launch it from here. See disk management? You can just go ahead and launch it from there. It's a real simple interface. Just right mouse click on the start menu, and you will need to be administrator to do that. And from here, you can do silly things like change your drive letters. Now, he made it seem like it's silly, but I've actually seen a few computers with, I don't know who did it, but the drive letters were really screwy. And I generally like to have my hard drive called C. I know there's no A and B anymore. Those are, the A drive and the B drive, they're gone. Actually, I remember the first computer I had put my hands on only had an A drive and a B drive. Okay, so that was no hard drives. It was a very primitive. I come from some very primitive times. So anyway, you can change. So there is a good reason to change the drive letter. Just right mouse click on your hard drive, and from the properties, from the shortcut menu, you can choose the hard drive or change the drive letter. Is what I wanted to say. Now, as far as partitioning, why would you want to partition? Well, dual boot. Now, he talks about, like maybe you want to turn on your computer and choose between Windows 10 and Windows 8.1. Who wants to launch 8.1? Actually, I never had the problems that some people complained about. I mean, I lived through it fine. I welcomed 10, but I didn't go crazy over, the fact that there was like 2 of everything in Windows 8.1. There's still a little bit of 2 of everything inside of Windows 10 too. I mean, there's that control panel, and there's the system, the settings, Windows settings thing. There's a lot of duplication still, but I can live with this small amount of duplication compared to what we had before. So as far as partitioning a hard drive is concerned, there's a short way to do it and a longer way. I like the short way. And it's in the videos that I showed you here. Just right mouse click on the disk, and from the shortcut menu, choose shrink volume. And then you're going to go ahead and decide how much you want the other volume to be, how big you want it to be. So then, once you go ahead and have that on allocated space, you'll then right mouse click on that and choose new simple volume. And then it's done. You've created another partition. Here's my disk management thing. And for as far as the task is concerned, you're just going to go ahead and just right mouse click on your hard drive. I want you to point to shrink, but then just do a print screen. Don't go any further. Even if you go a step further, you still have to continue from there on. You're not going to be messing things up unless you go quite a few number of steps. So hopefully I'm not asking for a whole lot, on here. So again, why do you want to partition? Dual boot is one reason, why. Another reason is that some people like to have their operating system on one partition and then all their data on the other. I met this one person, I remember in the bad old days of when people downloaded stuff that they shouldn't be downloading, like all that music and stuff. He would put all his music on one partition, and then he had the operating system on one. So he was always having to reformat because of the things he downloaded. He was always getting infected with something. So it kind of worked out for him, in that respect. So what are the steps? These are the steps that I boil it down to. You're going to shrink. You're going to designate how much you want to dedicate to the new partition, and then just right mouse click on that unallocated space and choose new simple volume. So then that brings us to the next topic on here is what is encryption file system? Well, it's a way of securing stuff. I mean, people won't be able to get into your files because it's encrypted. Unfortunately, there are some workarounds. Like say, for example, if you send the file to somebody over the internet, well, guess what? It's not encrypted anymore. And guess what? If somebody gets into your system, even though they won't be able to look at your data, guess what? They can delete it. But if you want to have multiple protections, the author says, by the way, even if the evildoer can't open your private file, they can still delete it unless you've protected it with Windows permission feature. And so there's a lot of stuff to learn on this stuff, right? So the chapter closes with 6 disk utilities that you'll rarely use. And I think he, rarely, some people may like some of these things. So here talks about BitLocker drive encryption. it scrambles everything, and without your password, you get no decryption. There's storage spaces, which is a RAID. There's dynamic disks, which was really even before storage spaces. There's disk cleanup, which I still like and use in comparison to the newer method where you have to go to start and then settings and then system and then storage and all those steps. So disk cleanup is still something that it's still on Windows 10. It hasn't been automated like defragging is automating, and the scan disking is automating on your hard drive, so you don't need to be doing those kind of manual things anymore. So I went ahead and gave you a task on learning about the disk cleanup. And here's how you need to right mouse click on your computer, go to properties. We were there just a little while ago, remember? We went to tools. In this case, you're going to go ahead and click on disk cleanup. And when you do that, you just put a check mark on everything and then click on the button here to clean up things. Nothing has gotten, it says clean up, but you're not deleting anything yet, okay? So when you do that, you end up with the more options button. This allows you to go ahead and make changes to programs and to other things. But you'll see on the first tab here, which is disk cleanup tab, finally, when you click on OK, this will be when when the deletion will occur of your temporary files. And there's a bunch of choices. There's a bunch of things that you can go ahead and decide whether or not you want to delete or undelete. Some people say that they like a program called CC Cleaner. I remember I had that a few years ago. And the reason why I liked it is because you can consolidate a lot of cleaning activities and editing of the registry and things of that nature. Well, we didn't get a chance to talk about that, did we? So I'll leave you with a small little video on running the disk cleanup. It's still a cool little program. He called it an ancient. What did he call it? An ancient or prehistoric Windows. An ancient predecessor to Storage Sense, still in Windows 10. Well, I'm still using it, and so it just goes to show there's still some amount of duplication going on here from the older interface where we had dial. Look at the UI is very different. This is so very, I'm not going to say Windows XP-ish or Windows 7-ish. And of course, Windows 10 is really for us really learning all we can about settings. And from here, we've spent a lot of time in our class learning about system, devices. We learned about personalization, apps. We're going to be learning about accounts. It's the next chapter that's coming up on here, Ease of access, important configurations, on here. Cortana's been totally morphed. In the next version of Windows, Cortana is going to be morphed into something else. On here, of course, updated security being probably one of the more important places that we learned in this class. But other than that, that's the end of my presentation today. Remember, anything that's in green is a topic for a lab activity, and you'll have a lab activity on storage sense, and you'll have another activity on the disk management, and then I believe you have another one on the that antique program called disk cleanup. Okay, but other than that, that's it for me, Professor Benavides, over and out. Hope you learned something from this chapter.